Hi, we've got lots of current affairs, things happening to talk about. We'll just sort of touch lightly on top of all of them. I'm Sarah, this is Annabelle, welcome to Navigating the Shift. So this amazing CDC data, quietly in the dead of night, they changed it. So only 6% of the deaths that they've reported as being COVID deaths are actually just having COVID. The other 94% have an average of 2.6 significant serious comorbidities. Yeah. That's amazing. Can you read the actual statement from the CDC?
Yeah. So this was updated on the 24th of August, though there was no press release. Apparently Trump did tweet it and the tweet was removed by Twitter to make it look like he didn't know what was going on. It says comorbidities. That means more than one cause for death. Or more than one, yeah, possible. Table 3 shows the types of health conditions and contributing causes mentioned in conjunction with deaths involving COVID. For 6% of the deaths, COVID-19 was the only cause mentioned. For deaths with conditions or causes in addition to COVID, on average, there were 2.6 additional conditions or causes for death. The number of deaths in each conditional cause is shown for all deaths by age group. Yeah. And so under that is a whole list of different things. Because we wondered about that a while ago. When was it? Maybe July. They changed it because it was over 100,000. Everyone keeps on raving all around the world, including here in Australia. The media would say, look, this many deaths have happened in America, which was over 100,000. And then I'm pretty sure it was around June, July, it changed to 55,000. And they broke it down into the main other reasons, which were mostly respiratory, influenza and pneumonia, chronic lower respiratory disease, adults respiratory disease syndrome, distress syndrome. That's important too. Can you imagine how many people are freaking out? So distress syndrome, respiratory failure and rest, that kind of stuff. Then there's circulatory diseases like heart attacks and all the rest. And more things after that. But it went down to 55 and they broke it up into different columns. And the most we could narrow it down was COVID and pneumonia. And I kept saying, why can't you just give us COVID? Is there anybody that actually died of COVID? Now we know. 9,000 odd people. It's the only amount of people that's actually...
in the U.S., right. So here's a list of various causes of death, also from the CDC, I think, with the causes of dying and the chances of death. And if the top one in 7, is heart disease and cancer. Makes sense. But the second one is this chronic lower respiratory disease, which is one of the most frequently named comorbidities in that other data set. So the other thing is the average age of people is 78 or something, which is the average age that people die anyway. And so if you look at, I'll put this up on the screen, you calculated that your chances of dying with just COVID from COVID is 1 in 35,817, which is less than dying due to exposure to excessive natural heat. And if you're 65 years or younger, which very few people died in that age group, you have 1 in 43,908% chance, which is actually less likely to happen than being struck by lightning. Yay!
And you know what? Those figures are very similar to Italy. Italy started doing their forensics, was the Higher Health Institute did forensics on why were there so many deaths happening in Italy so early on, and they came up with the same thing, that the average age of people dying was 78, almost exactly the same, and it was more than 93% of people were already on the way out, they were already dying. But then you've got other things like we found with CDC, they admitted that hospitals were being offered $30,000 if the person died and they put COVID on the death certificate. But here in Australia, they were being offered money if they put it on the death certificate. And there were big arguments between families and the old folks home. You know, people saying, look, you know, I think I explained that actually maybe 2 episodes back. Somebody saying my dad had very advanced Alzheimer's. He wanted to go back into the home. He wasn't allowed to go there unless he got tested for COVID, and he tested negative. And then he went back into the home and he died a week later, and they said it was COVID. And they were
Unbelievable.
arguing, and then they admitted, oh, actually, yes, we got $30,000 because we put that on the death certificate, but we'll give you $9,000. Greed.
It's ridiculous.
Greed, they're so easily bribed. Isn't that sad that humanity can be bribed so easily all over the world? But it really shows you the situation financially, I guess, as well.
I guess.
Some
people are desperate too. But if you look at this graphic, it compares the Obama administration era H1N1 epidemic, and there were 12,469 deaths, which gives you a 1 in 24,781% chance of dying. Whereas during this lovely little one we're under now, 90% of the deaths are in nursing homes, and a 1 in 38,517 chance of dying from COVID-19. So less than H1N1.
And there was no lockdown.
This is so wonderful because this is going to wake up so many people, right?
If what they do is watch mainstream telly, they probably won't get to see it.
I think it will be coming out. It's starting to be leaked out in more media than it used to be. So I think we are going to get it. We are going to see it. And other things like the arrest in Melbourne of that pregnant mother of two.
Yeah,
oh my goodness. So she posted something on Facebook about wanting to do a protest against the shutdown. And she's pregnant. They come into her house. They took all her computers, all the phones, even her sister who was evidently there to babysit, I think. They took that phone. They took everything. It's unbelievable. This kind of stuff. People are going to wake up.
There's something going on in Victoria. We talked about that in the Melbourne Tunnels video before. There's not a lot of new evidence that I've noticed, though I haven't had the time to do major investigations into it and research. But there's something about Victoria anyway. Now, you know how in America, your sheriff's badge is most likely to have a star, right? Isn't that classic? Right back to the cowboy era, it's a star, is what the sheriff wears. And in Victoria, the badge of the police is an upside down star, which is classic Satanist stuff. You have to wonder why it's been like that and how long it's been like that. That might be worth me checking to see. But if you look at the Melbourne Tunnels episode that we did, there were explosions going on. There were more than 20 flights that came in the middle of the night, over 2 or 3 nights, which is not normal. Here were all these flights coming in. There were people seeing, trucks mobilized and all sorts. There's a war going on. And the fact that they had a set amount of time that they planned to do that, and it's been extended, the impression that I get is that the operation underground is far bigger than expected. They've got US Marines there that arrived in Darwin, which is the top of Australia, and then they got flown down for the lockdown. And we don't see much happening on the street. People have said that as well. Well, how do we know if they're bringing people up from underground? Why can't we see them? If there are tunnels under there that used to take people from wherever they're being bred to the ports to ship them out around the world, then they can use the same ones to get them out of the, out of the city where people can't see them anyway. And the premier there, which is like your governors of a state, he just looks like such a fool. He's constantly saying, no, this is the lockdown. This is the way it is. This is the way it has to be. And he's getting so much flack for it, but it's possible that he's holding things up just to keep people safe, literally safe, not from COVID, but from all these crazy people underground who may want to shoot someone, or they may want to collect some more kiddies along the way. So this kind of arrest that we've just watched is probably setting the example to stop people from the idea of coming out and doing big protests. They don't want people out on the street. Like we've seen huge crowds in Belgium and Germany and all sorts of places around the world having these huge protests for freedom, but they can't afford to do it in Melbourne at the moment. They can't. That's my view. It might be that. It might be that they really are elevating, that they simply are escalating the progress towards making it communist down there. I don't know, but I have a feeling you've got both agendas running. That's my intuition saying that there's both agendas running at the moment.
What's going on? Funny things in my state of California. So the governor, Newsom, who's a nephew of the third in line for the presidency, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, he said, well, we're going to keep you on lockdown until November 3rd, which is the
Election
day
day.
we all vote. So it's like they're just being obvious with it. And Nancy, this is why I think that they're under white hat control and are doing things to make it look blatantly bad. Because Nancy Pelosi, who has her city of San Francisco in a lockdown, made a hair salon open up and let her come in and get her hair washed and blown out, whatever the heck that is. And
Mask.
no mask.
Yeah.
And she's busted. And now she's saying, they tricked me. I think that salon owes me an apology. And it's like, you look like such an idiot. It's they've got to be under control. And then you had Biden coming out delivering 3 pizzas to the first responders, which is a signal I am surrendering, right? We saw W. Bush do that. We saw the guy who started doing the weird Kevin Spacey, thank you. And then while he's walking with the pizza, a guy shouting at him, hey, now you're saying you're going to be okay with fracking. You said over and over before you would do no fracking. What's the truth, Joe? And Joe turns around and goes, don't jump, don't jump, don't jump. And turns around and walks off with the pizza.
Don't jump. Oh.
You know that little icon of that face? That's like,
the emoji.
Yeah. That's what that feels like to me. It's like, don't jump.
You know, Joy, whether he's still there and or whether they're using a clone or whether he actually has sort of got dementia type symptoms, or we just don't quite know.
No,
why would you hold him up the front there as your leader if he clearly has not got his marbles?
It's designed to show the world. I swear, this is a movie. What do you say? What makes a good movie? Great actors. And speaking of that 17th letter, there's some new activity there. One thing was a list of about 80 different arrests to mostly politicians on both sides of both wings of the bird, as they say, and also entertainment people as well as Epstein. So some of these are older, but 80 people arrested for pedophilia type crimes. Arrested, or a couple of them were just accused, but it's just this long list of the names and what they were arrested or put in jail for and how long their sentence was, and how they had to step down from their job as commissioner or whatever it was because of things. So,
and it's important to see that it's both sides, it's both parties. That's really important. This is not all about nasty Dems. There are people all over Congress and all levels of the Justice Department and politics, and as you said, entertainment, that need to be made accountable for their actions. And we live in an era. It's not even an era. This is meant to be a new epoch, a totally new epoch, where all secrets will be revealed. And wow, it's going to be dirty.
It's going to be beautiful.
After we cleaned up the dirty bits.
After we get there. So I was sent this incredible document. It says investigative report on the COVID-19 pandemic and its relationship to SARS-CoV-2 and other factors by Association des Officiers de Réserve, Association of French Reserve Army Officers. So it's translated into English by a woman named Claire Edwards, who was a staffer at the UN. And it's a mind blower. The link below where you can download this and see Claire's presentation on a video if you prefer that. So they talk about the creation of it, why it could not be created naturally. They talk about how it was organized as far as the shutdown and why it doesn't work. They talk about the medical stuff and how obscene that is. It's 80 pages, if I didn't say that. I think that's about 8 pages. It's long. And it goes on to talk about medical treatment and also non-pharmaceutical or natural treatments that you can use. And Claire linked lots of different articles and things like that that support all of the stuff in there. It's a long read, but there wasn't really anything there, a lot that I didn't already know personally about it. But to see it all in this one thing coming from a government agency right?
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. It's well worth the read. Answers so many questions, and some of the stuff in there is talking about things that I didn't actually know as far as natural remedies for inflammation and virals and bacterials and things like that. Long lists of a variety of things. So I recommend it. It's a good thing.
Maybe we can look at some of those next week if there's nothing too crazy happen, even though we can never tell where what crazy things will happen in the movie. But, you know, at some point that might be really worth looking into, the natural remedies.
The last thing I want to talk about is a young man here in the U.S. named Kyle Rittenhouse. So he's 17-year-old, and he got caught up in the rioting stuff in Kenosha, I think, Wisconsin, where they burned all those cars. So the next night, I got the whole story. I actually have a link to the letter that his lawyer, he's the same guy who defended that boy from the Catholic school, the fake news trashed all over. So at any rate, evidently, this kid works in this area as a lifeguard at a swimming pool. And he's a trained EMT. And he decided after his shift that he was going to join a group of people and go and clean off some of the graffiti off in the local high school. And he heard a call from the guy who had the car dealership saying, I need help, they're coming for my auto shops. And so he and his friend, they got guns, and he had his medic kit. And they're like, we're going to try to save the businesses. We're going to try to help people. And he evidently, there's lots of films from various things of him talking about why he's there, about he has this skill, of him running with a fire extinguisher, of him telling people, medic, here, come on over here, come on, sit down, I'll help you out. Wait, you need to go over there, guiding people to where they needed to go to get help and trying to organize it. And at some point, a group of the rioters, let's call them, realized he was the guy who had stopped them as they were trying to destroy more cars and things. And said, that's him, get him. And they started chasing him. And one of them, he's running away behind cars. One of them threw a Molotov cocktail at him and then ran after him and had, I think, a rifle. And the kid turned around and shot the guy in the chest, and he died. And he happened to, these guys chasing him are not good guys, by the way. And he takes off and keeps running, trying to get away from him. And the mod goes, he shot him, get the bastard, let's go. And he's running down the street as fast as he can. And they're running after him. You hear, like, I think a total of 17 gunshots over the course of this video. And only 3 of them were his. So there's guns going off.
17 gunshots. Okay.
Interesting, right?
Interesting.
I may have that number wrong, but I think that's what I remember. But at any rate, and then at one point, they knock him down. A guy jumps up and kicks him in the head, knocks him over from the ground. Another guy smacks him with his skateboard. This third guy is running up. He pulls a pistol out of his back and aims it at this kid, Kyle. And Kyle, and shoots him in the arm and saves his own life. So yes, and President Trump has said that I don't want vigilantes to go there. Let the police do this. But the left, of course, is trying to twist it to, he's shooting unarmed people, and he's a right-wing white supremacist Trump supporter, and he wasn't advertising that at all. He said himself, I'm not really religious, but I'm trained to do these things. I want to become a police officer when I grow up. I have EMT training from my lifeguard job, and I wanted to try to help people, and he helped a lot of people, evidently. So
what a hero.
The bottom line is...
Because I remember hearing a little bit about that. I didn't remember the guy's name when you first mentioned him, but wasn't there something on the like CNN or something about, Trump supporter shoots a man who hits him with a skateboard. It's like this much of the story. How about giving the rest of the story to make it look complete? It's just such propaganda. You've got to look not just at if you watch Fox and CNN and you think you've got the whole story. That's not all the story either. There's more to it than that.
It should be more like a person trying to defend business and help people was attacked by a rapist, a child rapist, a wife beater, and an armed robber. And when they attempted to kill him, he fired in self-defense. And and then afterwards, the crowd backed off, and he just hung the gun down and walked toward the police with his hands up. And they said, where are the injured people? He said, back there. He goes, okay, just keep moving, move along. And then later, because they didn't want to arrest him, they wanted to get to the injured people, he turned himself in his hometown, which happened to have been across the state line. So, you know, that's a little bit iffy, but he shouldn't have been there, but it's
he did the best he could, really.
On his spirit. Yeah, I was impressed by his composure, because at one point his gun jammed.
Oh.
And in 1 second he unjammed it and turned around and fired on the guy that was going to kill him. So
what it's for how old did you say he was? 17. 17. How does this movie lie?
It's a movie. It's a freaking movie, right?
Oh.
And I think the kid might still be in jail. They accuse him of murder, and he's been in county holdup at least as far long as yesterday. His lawyer, Lynn, whatever his name is, did a phone call from jail where he was thanking people for sending him nice letters and stuff.
Yeah. I think support from the crowds will make a big difference in that case.
Mm-hmm.
Wowee.
It's a fascinating movie.
It is indeed. But if you're finding that you're getting down and it's bothering you, and every now and then it does, I have actually just recently released a meditation that I'll put a link to that I'll put a link to below. It's called Relax, There Is Hope. And
good.
The idea is to
check that out.
Lift you up, and it offers you just a little mention of bringing the people up from underground, and let's give them all love as well. So have a listen to that and see. Hopefully that will bring you some comfort.
And we're still being heavily censored. So if you feel inspired to support us in any way, a one-time donation of any amount you feel comfortable with, or on Patreon as low as $3 a month, it would be greatly appreciated. We've been doing this for almost a year and a half now, and I haven't made any money on this channel. So it would be, they're suppressing our numbers. We've watched the views go down, which is ridiculous.
Up and down.
Up and down. There's
no point monetizing this channel, but yeah, if you can help us on Patreon or PayPal and put those links below, that would be lovely.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye.